All right. I'm back for a little bit. Got a little bit. All right. So I was just watching Made by Jim Bob's stream. He's still alive right now, as of the time of me making this video. And he was watching that guy, that scientist Dave or whatever, that debunks flat Earth people. So now he thinks he's like a genius or something, which I don't even think you can really debunk flat Earth until you actually go into space. But I mean, there are some good logical arguments that the Earth is round. I'm kind of a round Earth person myself, but that's besides the point. I think that kind of what Jim Bob's getting at in the stream is correct. It's hard to prove cosmology. It's hard to prove evolution. So it's kind of a moot point, because whatever the conditions were at the time when these people are claiming that abiogenesis happened are clearly not the conditions now, because if they were, then abiogenesis would be happening now, and it's not. So the conditions were different, even if from their view. Now, do I believe their view? No. Okay, we're going to get into why I don't believe their view and why I have a completely different set of arguments that are not designed to prove that evolution happened, but merely meant to disprove the story of the Bible. And now, do I want to disprove the story of the Bible? Not particularly, especially if that's going to make society fall apart. So that's why I don't talk about it, right? But we can get into what I'm going to talk about, or my thoughts on it. And this is kind of like a preliminary thing, because the problem with these types of debates is that you can't present elaborate scientific evidence in a talking debate on a webcam. It's just not possible. You can't just talk your way through these super complex scientific topics that have taken some of the smartest people in the world hundreds of years to figure out, and expect that two dudes on the internet shouting names at each other are going to figure out the answer to these questions. All right. So first of all, the cosmological question is just dumb, because scientists do not know the age of the universe. And why is that? Because of the cosmological horizon, right? There's a point in which, even if light travels at light speed, where it's just too far away for us to observe. And that's why we get this, because as soon as they bring up a new telescope, right, that's where they get this new claim, when they started using the James Webb telescope, space telescope, right? Then as soon as they put up a telescope that could see further, then all of a sudden it doubled the age of the universe, right? So they don't know how old the universe is. So the concept of it taking billions and millions of years for life to evolve, whatever, it's not really a good question, because nobody actually knows how big the universe is because of the cosmological horizon. So there's just a point where you can't see past, no matter how, unless you get a better telescope. And it just so happens that every time they get a better telescope, then they're like, wow, the universe is bigger. Makes sense, right? Like, if you only see with your eyes and you stand in one spot, you think that the world is as big as the horizon line of your eyes. Then when you get binoculars, like, wow, oh, it's further. Then when you get a telescope, you're like, it's further. Then when you stand on top of a mountain with the telescope, you're like, wow, it's even bigger. Then you go on a plane and you're like, oh, it's even bigger, right? So there is a big portion of this is based on perception and size and relativity and all those things, right? So another evidence that these people don't know what they're talking about is, scientists like this guy, what's his name, Sean Carroll and Michio Kaku, who are supposedly some of the smartest scientists in the world. And they make claims like this, like the universe isn't locally real and nothing exists, right? And then these guys are like high level scientists, not like Dave, who's like a high school teacher or whatever. Like these are supposedly the highest level guys studying the highest level stuff. And they're saying the universe isn't real, right? Michio Kaku said that. Sean Carroll is like a proponent of multiverse theory, where he thinks that different universes can have completely different sets of rules, and that there was like billions of universes that spawned into existence and then didn't even make it because their cosmological constants weren't the right level for them to sustain gravity or sustain whatever forces that made our universe the way that it is, right? And even here, Sabina Hassenfelder is asking the question, has quantum mechanics proved that reality does not exist, right? So asking cosmological questions from that perspective is just ridiculous, because even the most smart people in the world do not know the answer to the question. So if like Dave is trying to pretend like he knows the answer to the question, he is actually pretty stupid, right? Like that's the one thing that they always say in quantum physics. It's like, if you think that you understand quantum physics, that means that you don't understand quantum physics, right? So one of the big questions that Jim Bob has is, how do organs get formed, right? This is an article about RNA, which is supposedly like one of the first types of like life forms that was multicellular, right? So ribonucleic acid, RNA, is a polymeric molecule that is essential for most biological functions, either by performing functions itself or by forming a template for the production of proteins, messenger RNA. And see, that was the thing during COVID, right? That's why the shot is so dangerous, because it affects your messenger RNA, right? Which the messenger RNA is the RNA that sends the message to, there's three types of RNA. Let's go down to that. All right. So the messenger RNA is a type of RNA that carries information from DNA, right, to the ribosome, the sites of the protein synthesis, right? Then there's transfer RNA and ribosomal RNA, which are involved in the process of translation. There's non-coding involved in gene regulation, RNA processing, and other things, right? So basically what happens is that the three types of, there's the messenger RNA that sends the message to the second type of RNA that produces a protein, and the protein can be anything, right? And that's why it can produce like a cancer or whatever types of things that it was producing from the people that were taking the shot, right? Because basically when the people took the shot, it mimics mRNA, the messenger RNA. So then it tells the second type of RNA that actually produces the protein to produce something that your body doesn't have a code for, right? So the ribosomes, or the RNA, whatever you want to call it, can produce any type of protein. And like that's how you get cancer, because it just produces cells that don't do anything, right? So it can produce an entire set of cells from the coding of the DNA, right? So it doesn't need to evolve slowly. There's no need to have a half a penis. The penis is created when the RNA sends, the messenger RNA sends the code from the DNA to the protein creating ribosomes, and those protein creating ribosomes create an entire penis all at once. There's never a point where there's a half of a penis, all right? It sounds funny. It's a good rhetoric. Oh, what am I going to do with the half a pee-pee? The pee-pee, the pee-pee, the pee-pee, right? You keep saying the pee-pee like 40,000 times in one freaking thing. but that's not how it works. The RNA produces proteins, right? And that's what your body's made of. Like all your muscles in your body are made of protein. Your brain's made of like protein and fat, right? Your skin's made up of protein. It's all proteins, right? And so it just sends a message, right? It's so, for instance, when you cut your finger, right? What happens, right? Does your finger just stay cut forever? Or does your skin grow back, right? And how does your skin grow back? I mean, what are you going to do with half of a skin on this side and half of a skin on that side? How does it evolve? No, that's not how it works. The proteins, the RNA proteins produce skin cells where they're needed, right? And all of the information for the entire animal is contained within the DNA. So there is no half a PP, okay? It's funny, haha, we get it, haha, half a PP, but that's not how it works. Okay, right? Now, as far as abiogenesis goes, it's just the wrong question to ask an atheist, right? Because when you're saying abiogenesis, that would assume that something started, right? But to an atheist, the concept of the delineation between it being a set of chemicals, right, that are just amino acids, to a more complex thing like a RNA strand, there's no crossover period where the chemicals become alive, as in a traditional like Christian sense, right, where you have a life and a spirit inside of you, right? That doesn't exist to them. So even asking that question is kind of like outside of the concept of what you're discussing, right? Because you're talking past each other. You're saying, when did life begin? And they're just saying, no. The universe just keeps creating ever and ever complex patterns. And then some of those patterns contain information that moves around. And they believe in determinism, right? So they believe that all of this stuff was set in motion at the Big Bang or whatever. I don't believe in that. As you can see by the fact that the cosmological horizon pretty much disproves the fact that whatever age they believe the universe is the actual age of the universe, right? So we can see here that they have not been able to reproduce abiogenesis. We're getting close. I mean, it's 2025. You guys have known about the amino acids for like at least 50, 60 years. They've been shocking them, lighting them on fire, freezing them, sinking them in water, blowing them a kiss, everything possible to try to get these amino acids to form into an RNA molecule, right? But they can't. And so that's why I don't believe in that theory, because they should be able to easily do it, right? If they should be able to easily do it because they know the exact freaking amino acids that are in our body, and they can just put them in a petri dish and freeze them and flame them and electrocute them and shake them up all they want and nothing happens, right? So I don't believe in that. I don't. I believe that there had to have been some other type of condition that no longer exists, and that's why you don't continue to see, abiogenesis happening. Okay. So we already went over the cosmological horizon, where it's just you can't see past it. So there's no way for us to actually know how old the universe is, right? But this is my theory, right? This is where I would go with it. Basically, wait, hold on. There's one other thing I gotta look up. Now, I don't know if this is the orthodox view, but most people believe that, that the Bible believes that the earth is about 6,000 years old, going by the Jewish calendar. And if you believe in the Bible, then you believe that Adam was the first man and that there's a chronological time period going through the Bible that's accurate, then you would have to kind of believe that it's around that old, right? You would kind of have to believe that the universe is around 6,000 years old, because that is like the time chronological time frame that the Bible takes place, right? So we can see that erosion is an observable phenomenon that exists. It's not something that's made up. It's not something that's imaginary. It's not something that we can't observe. It's not something that we can't physically observe and measure to a very good degree of how much will happen over a period of time, right? So all I have to do is basically prove that erosion exists, and that erosion proves that the planet is older than 6,000 years old, in order to disprove your view. I'm not making a positive claim on evolution, because obviously the smartest people in the world don't even think that the universe exists, right? All I have to do is disprove that the universe is 6,000 years old, and water erosion of all types, proves that, because it's an observable phenomenon that acts in a basically in a regular rate, right? See, so the erosion rate of granite is often ranging from 0.5 to 2.5 millimeters per 1,000 years, right? And then in some areas, granite is eroding at about 4 meters per million years, right? So if it's eroded that much, 4 billion years, then basically what you have to disprove that erosion exists, in order to prove that your positive view that the universe started at Adam and Eve or whatever, right? 6,000 years ago. That man started 6,000 years ago in the Garden of Eden, right? You have to disprove that erosion is an observable phenomena on Earth, right? Because I don't know what happened. Who knows? You can't know. Obviously, we can't know how old the universe is, because there's a horizon. We can't even know if the universe does exist, because these guys are retarded, right? We can't know how life was created, because we can't replicate it. But I can know that erosion exists, right? Like even when I walk across the carpet, erosion. I go outside and walk across the lawn, erosion, right? And if I just keep walking across the lawn back and forth in the same spot over and over and over again for 100 years, I'm going to be in a ditch. And then if I keep doing it again for 1,000 years, I'm going to be like underground. And if I do it for 10,000 years, I'll be in China, right? It's an observable phenomena that's measurable and exists. And so basically you have to disprove that any type of erosion exists, and it's immeasurable. There's no possible way that you can measure the rate of erosion on like a stone, or measure it. And okay, you see what I'm saying? That's how I would go about it. I'm not saying that that's what I would do, but you see, in a talking debate, you can just say my pee, my pee, my pee, and everybody laughs, and then they laugh at me, and ha ha ha. And there's no way to prove all of these things all at once that all these scientists have been working on for thousands, at least hundreds of years, and just put it into some neat little bow and just be like, oh yeah, here it is. It's a lot easier to just say my pee, where's my half a pee? Where's my half a PP? Where's my half a PP? It's called RNA, bro. It's called RNA. and it produces the entire thing at once, the same way that, say, like certain lizards, their tail will grow back, right? Because the code for the entire body is embedded inside the DNA. Now, how does it change? That I don't know. I'm not saying that it changes or whatever, but the fact of the matter is that the code itself is inside of the thing, and it produces the protein for the entire organ at once. It doesn't produce half a heart. It doesn't produce half a penis, half of your balls, right? And these are interlocking organisms, right? Like the sperm is a separate organism, basically, that's produced by your body over time, basically, like from single-celled organisms different single-celled organisms combined together to form complex organisms. And then those complex organisms evolved or whatever, changed, however you want to call it, right? Now, I'm not saying that this is what happened, but this is their own theory, and they can't even explain it properly to you. They just keep saying that you're dumb or whatever, but this is how organs are formed, through mRNA taking the information from your DNA and sending it to the protein RNA, and the protein RNA creates a protein for that body part, okay? And then it forms the whole body part at once, okay? So look, all you have to do is just say that erosion doesn't exist, and then you'll be correct, right? You can just say, there's no such thing as erosion. Erosion? What do you mean? Erosion? No way. That doesn't happen. Come on, you can't prove that. You can't. What am I supposed to believe, that erosion exists? And then you're going to say something else about my pee-pee? This has nothing to do with people's penises, bro. Just disprove erosion. Disprove it. Disprove that erosion happens. Disprove that things wear down over time. Disprove that, that wind can blow rock, like holes in rock, and, carve rock and sand off rock. And it takes a certain amount of time. It takes a certain amount of time. And then I guess you can say that time, you can just go, time doesn't exist. How could you even prove that time exists if you can't prove this and you can't prove that? Blah, 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 blah. It's observable. It's observable and measurable. Okay? So you have to disprove that this is measurable and say that, oh, well, you can't figure out how long it happened for. No, but you can. You actually can figure out how long it happened for. Okay? So that's the video. I'm going to get out of here. Might be back later. Have a good day and peace.